How do you feel about the rules? Should rules be unbreakable, or are rules made to be broken? I have two children who would probably answer that question quite differently. One of my children loves rules. They make life manageable because rules are a way to get through each day, and the best way to do it is simply you obey the rules. The more rules, the better, because that way there are less decisions to make, less uncertainty about what to do. The other child comes at things from a different angle. Boundaries are supposed to be pushed, rules tested to find out which ones really matter and which ones we can ignore. To get the most of any situation, a few rules need to be broken. In the days of the New Testament, a good Jew had an awful lot of rules to obey. One of my children would have been delighted. There was the law given by God. But the teachers of the law, they tried to explain it. They added lots of extra bits. They weren't trying to do anything bad. They weren't trying to make life hard. They were trying to make life easier. They were trying to explain the law that God had given to Moses. So when the law from God said that you shouldn't covet your neighbour's possessions, they tried to explain exactly how to avoid that, or precisely what you could and couldn't do on the Sabbath so that it was kept holy. But the problems start to occur when people got so fixated on the rules, they forgot about why they had any in the first place. The rules were there to help them love God and love each other. Just like the laws of our land are designed to help us live in the same world as a whole bunch of other people. And so we're not allowed to steal from them because that will upset them. It's to help our communities work. That's the idea. People have lost sight of this, and so some people in the New Testament in Jesus' time, they thought that the rules were so important they'd skipped the bit, lost sight of the bit where they were supposed to lead them to love God and love each other. This got Jesus annoyed from time to time. It was a problem in the early church as well. Paul talks about this at the end of Colossians 2. Therefore, do not let anyone judge you by what you eat or drink, or with regard to a religious festival, a new moon celebration, or a Sabbath day. These are a shadow of the things that were to come. The reality, however, is found in Christ. Do not let anyone who delights in false humility and the worship of angels disqualify you. They've lost connection with the head, from whom the whole body, supported and held together by its ligaments and sinews, grows as God causes it to grow. Since you died with Christ to the elemental spiritual forces of this world, why, as though you still belong to the world, do you submit to its rules? Now, Paul isn't writing this to try and convince us to ignore the law. He has things to say about obedience to authority elsewhere. He's trying to tell us that the rules by themselves won't help us in our relationship with God and each other, which is the point. They were supposed to steer us towards it, but if we just have the rules without the relationship, they will not keep us from sin. They cannot keep us from temptation. At best, the rules will show us what's right from what's wrong, but they won't help us to stay right and not wrong. They won't help us to remain in Christ. No, Paul says, the reality is found in Christ. Keeping the rules is not what's important. Drawing near to Jesus is. The rules are there to help us draw near to Jesus. If we don't have that end result as our focus, the rules are no good. They're there to help us love him and love each other. And so if you go to a church where they are more interested in rules than in a relationship with Jesus, it's time to ask whether this is the right place to be. If you are listening to teaching that emphasises what you should or shouldn't do over a loving relationship with Christ and other people, maybe that's not the path to be on. Rules are good, rules are useful, but only when they point us deeper. Only when they drive us towards more loving relationships with those around us and our Father in heaven. Because that is the true reality. That's what really matters.